We ended our last episode with the federal sentence you received. I want to talk about your actual sentence. What was your first day in federal prison like?
So my first day in prison, I spent in Fort Worth. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was terrified. I didn't know what to expect. I had heard every horror story under the sun. And then I had also heard some good things, right? I had heard from some people that you could take advantage of some things like that. But I think overall, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know anybody. I was just plopped down in the middle of like 3,000 people, didn't know anybody's background, just had no clue, right? So I was anxious. I didn't know where I was allowed to go. I didn't have any direction, anybody, helping me out. It was tough.
Where did you go?
FMC Fort Worth.
Tell me about your first few months in prison. What programs did you get involved with?
So my first few months in prison, I wasn't really involved in anything. Like I just started working out and getting I started working out and getting like my physical prowess back, because there's like I'm tall and skinny at this point. I could probably hide behind a seatbelt, no joke. So, I'm looking around and, if one thing you ever hear about prison is that you need to be able to defend yourself, and there are a lot of big dudes. There are a lot of big guys in prison. So my first 3 months was just a dedication to myself and my health, my physical health. And it gave me something to do, right? It gave me something to fill my space with. So that's how I spent my first 3 months. It was just getting myself, my mental and physical health back together. And then I started to join programs. I think I joined a small drug program at first, a non-residential program. Liked the way it was structured, liked some of the terminology. It helped me understand a little bit more about myself. So I moved forward and went into the RDAP program.
What's RDAP?
RDAP is short for Residential Drug Abuse Program.
Why did you think you needed it? And was it beneficial for you?
RDAP was a game changer for me. RDAP was like this godsend program that everybody hated. I mean, the who's who in prison would tell you that don't trust that program. It's not going to teach you anything. Man, and I just looked at it like a big old piece of pie. I mean, everything that this program offered me was something that at one point in my life I had loved to do, like public speaking or storytelling. I'm enamored with that stuff. I love watching or hearing a good poem or a good speech. I love those things. I love public speaking, right? RDAP gave me a chance to do those things. They help you and increase your understanding of verbiage and terminology. There was just so many things that I loved, that I loved learning. I've loved learning my whole life. There were so many things that RDAP offered me that I couldn't take advantage of or never pursued in the streets because I was always high, that once I was sober, I looked at it like I get to go to college again. That's really what it was. It was my first big commitment to my life. And it fed me and fed me and fed me and fed me until the next thing you know, like my mind, every situation, my position changed. I was taking more pro-social views on things. I was encouraging people. I was becoming known as the do-gooder, the guy who's tough on all the BS. And I loved that. I loved that. And RDAP was my springboard to my success in prison.
What classes did you take while you were serving your sentence?
I didn't take very many courses because I was lucky enough to, after I had finished my RDAP programming, I stayed on the unit and became the head orderly, and I was given a lot of responsibility, and it was really my first job, right? I was in charge of helping things run smoothly. I was a mentor. I gave advice and offered feedback to people. Shortly after my first year of graduation from the program, I was given an opportunity to work alongside two wonderful doctors in the dental clinic. So they had, in prison, they have what they call apprenticeships. And this apprenticeship was for a dental surgical tech and a denture technician, along with dental assisting. And it was just an amazing experience. So I spent the last part of my prison sentence working with two doctors who taught me numerous things, and the value there is almost unexplainable. To be able to have that presence around you while you're in such a unfavorable place really helps keep your mind right? You're around accomplished people, strongly educated people who have exacting standards, and you are a product of your environment, right? So the more you hang around something, the more likely you are to become it. And man, if I didn't eat up the professionalism that I was given those last 3.5 years, I was a sponge. I soaked up as much of it as I could. I wasn't perfect. I made some mistakes, but ultimately the dental assisting program is what's helped me manage myself in a professional environment today.
During your time in custody, you focused on your health, well-being, and physical training. Tell us about that.
So a big thing in prison is working out. You're caged up with a bunch of men, and you got to find a way to get along or to not. Another thing is, I'm an ex-professional athlete, and finding that avenue of satisfaction for me again in life was a big deal. So I started working out, like I said, when I first got to prison, but it quickly became a passion of mine. It became something that is very dear to me and is present in my life today. So much so that I went to school. While I was going to school for dental assisting and dental technology, I got my physical fitness trainer's license. I got my strength and conditioning license and a nutritionist license. And I went to the moon with it. I helped a lot of the guys that I worked out with gain weight, lose weight. I educated them on just health overall, and really made some really created some strong bonds with a lot of men who fostered the same enthusiasm for me as I did with it. And so I was able to pay that forward. But physical fitness is definitely a passion in my life, and it's something that won't disappear, I guess, until I do.
You also grew spiritually as you served your sentence. Tell us about that.
This is the most important thing that's happened to me through my prison journey. When I was a little kid, we were in and out of churches for all the wrong reasons, right? For the right reasons, but for unfavorable reasons: domestic abuse, drug use, and you name it. The school of hard knocks. But even as a little kid, there were men in my life that I had just brushed shoulders with, or pastors, youth pastors, that always told me, God has a plan for you, or you should be speaking in church, and just all kinds of encouraging and uplifting messages for me from these men who found God and put Jesus first in their life. And so midway through my bid, I ran into a friend of mine named Jeremy, and he was in the mentorship at the chapel, and he worked out and I worked out, but we worked out in separate cars, basically. And, just out of the blue one day, he came up and he asked me what my story was. And I think this was right as I had gotten my first letter from you saying, "Hey, Chris, we're just thinking about you, and we want to know how you're doing, and if you're interested in doing some things." And I was thinking to myself, how does he know that I have a story? Because I haven't told anybody. So I just said, one day I'll talk to you about it. And I just dismissed him, and he was relentless, not overbearing, but relentless. And finally I told him, and he told me that I should come to Bible study. And so I attended Bible study, and they asked me a question and I answered it. And after I was done answering it, I didn't really even know what I had said, but I had spoken for quite a bit. And he pulled me to the side and he said, man, you know, God's doing something in your life, and I want to help you recognize it. And so I found Jesus Christ in prison about 5 years ago. And it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It's not a perfect relationship, right? But it's a good relationship. He's good. And I'm just really thankful for what he's done. And, you know, how he's taken me and he's put his hand on me and moved me the way he's moving me. And I'm just really thankful for Jesus Christ in my life today.
I distinctly remember COVID hitting while you were in prison. Tell us about that experience, what it was like to be in prison when there was an outbreak of COVID, and how was your family involved with getting the message out about COVID?
Yeah, that was an interesting time, to say the least. You know, when you're in prison, you're in your own little world. Things that happen outside of your yard or your prison, it's almost like it's not real. So the months leading up to our initial lockdown and all of the news feeds, it hadn't hit us, right? So we're watching what's going on in the world. We're hearing on the radio what's going on in the world. But in our world, life is normal. Nobody's wearing masks. You're in and out. You're mingling. You know what I mean? So it was not real. Matter of fact, it was sort of a joke at first when they were quoting these big numbers on the radio and on TV. And then we started to see like all of the disturbing news scenes, like the body bags and the coolers and stuff. And then, you know, then the sentiment really started to change when you would be in your room and you would hear the phone slam and you would hear the chair either fly across the room or you would just hear sobbing. And that was because either somebody lost somebody or they knew that something was getting ready to happen that was going to be devastating. And as that started to leak into the prison, the whole like attitude changed and people started like really living on edge. It was crazy. Like nobody knew how to deal with it, right? And so everybody's now a conspiracy theorist, and everybody's a doctor in prison overnight, right? And all we know is that we're in a communal living. So if it hits here, everybody's gonna get it. But it's just the flu, right? And then people start disappearing and nobody knows where they are. And it got to a point where they locked us down, but we had open doors. They put curtains on our doors. They wouldn't let us go outside. It was stressful. It was just a hectic time to be locked up. You know, everybody got it. Nobody was safe from it. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of good guys, and we weren't able to see our families for just about a year and a half, a year and a few months. So the acclimation to the family life and all of those things were tough.
So I understand you met the Tiger King while you were serving your sentence. What was that experience like?
I didn't even know he was after me until like one of the staff members was like, "Hey, I heard through the grapevine, Tiger King's got something for you." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You're kidding me, right?" And then an inmate came up and told me. Then it was like all over the compound that Tiger King really had something going on for me. And at first it was like a joke, and I was like, "Yeah, right." And then I met him, and without any like upfront, "Hey, Chris, like I really it was evident, right? But after I met Joe, he was a really cool dude. Like there was never any like give or take of that nature, but we talked about, some prison reform, and he was hell bent on fighting his case. And I understand that. And that was cool. And we traded and shared a few ideas, and I stayed in contact with him. I haven't heard from him since I left prison, but yeah, that was a unique experience.
Did you ever get sent to the SHU?
I did go to the SHU. I went to the SHU one time. I went to the SHU under an investigation for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This is a serious thing. This is not something to play with, and definitely not a road I would ever advise anybody to take. Not that I took it, but just understanding the severity of it after they talked to me. There was a rumor going on that a staff member and I had an inappropriate relationship, man, and they came and they scooped me up. They took all my stuff. They threw me in the SHU. They came in and they were like, hey, we're gonna, they did their due diligence, whatever. They went through all my stuff, and I didn't know what was going on. I had never been in trouble. So, all of this was just crazy to me. And, thankfully at the end of it, they found out that there was nothing going on. Yeah, that was my one trip to the SHU that, could have really had a turn for the worse for me, but thank God it didn't. And thank God, it pays to do the right stuff, right? It pays to be on the right side of right. So that being said, it was an investigation, and they investigated and then put me back out. So yeah, I had a trip to the SHU under less likely circumstances, but made it out and kept on going forward.
You ultimately got released early. How much of your sentence did you serve in prison?
I got 120 months. I served a little shy of, I served just about 7 and some change. I was eligible for the First Step Act, which is a wonderful thing that all inmates should take advantage of. It was this program that they came up with where if you're holding if you're holding a job or an apprenticeship and you're staying out of trouble, you're pro-social, you're not causing any issues, that they give you, they're called time credits, and they'll add them up and they'll deduct the time off your sentence, basically. So before the First Step ever came into existence, or when they were talking about it, I was plugging along. And I was, going upstream on work on time, not getting in trouble. I had a job. I was doing my apprenticeship. And then that came in, and then the drug program, and I got credit for these things combined. And it felt really good to get out like that, because once again, you got everybody saying that doing the right thing in prison doesn't pay off. And now here's your moment, right? Here's your moment. And it pays off. And it paid off for me. And it's still paying off for me, right? My choices that I made inside the wall, that I continue to make outside the wall or the fence today, are the decisions that got me out of prison early. Right? First Step Back, drug program, pro-social life. And those are the decisions and the things that I'm doing now that are propelling me forward in work.
Where'd you go after your release?
I went to the Halfway House in Hutchins, Texas.
What was the Halfway House like?
That's funny. The Halfway House was much the same as prison, right? There were, you got a group of men who are transitioning into a place where they have an opportunity to do the right thing or to continue to do the wrong thing. And for me, in prison, staying healthy, not doing drugs, being sober, and getting a job were the things that propelled me forward and allowed me to make my mark. for myself and to provide and set that example for those around me. Well, when I got to the halfway house, you know, I was eager and I was just like chomping at the bit to get a job, to get out, to search for something, to start something. And I mean, I was just in the halfway house, and not all the men there were like this, but the majority of the men were just like on vacation. And it reminded me instantly of how dangerous a vacation can be. And so I went to the halfway house, and I didn't waste any time. I didn't waste any time at all. I got a job right away, and I stayed away from alcohol, drugs, all those things, and followed in suit with the mentorship and talking to anybody that would listen about, you know, making healthy decisions.
Where'd you get a job?
I got a job at a place called Aquatic. It's a fiberglass bathtub and shower manufacturer. It's right down the street from the halfway house.
Are you still working there now?
I am still working there. Currently, I'm the quality manager for the plant. I started off as a parts pooler, which is a real laborious job. Not to say that the quality manager isn't demanding, but this is demanding in a whole different way. I started off pulling parts for the company. 6 months into my employment there, they gave me an opportunity of a lifetime, which was to come in at an entry level and learn how to collate, separate, and communicate data for the plant, and come up with processes and corrections to processes that would help sustain, a quality product in it. And it's just really been one big learning adventure. It's difficult and challenging, but it's also so rewarding in the same sense where, you know, God is just continually reinforcing in my life that when I choose to do the difficult things, I'm able to enjoy, you know, the fruits of them. So in prison, I did the same thing, and I'm out here now, and now I'm out here, and, you know, parts puller job is something nobody wants. I mean, and there were people who would go there. I don't want to work there. It's too dusty. It's too this, it's too that, and I just kept hearing those things, right? And I was like, I'm going to turn this negative situation. I'm going to turn this situation into a learning, something people can learn from, and I can learn from. And I just went in there and dug down deep. And now I get to, I have an amazing job. I have an amazing job that nobody thought anybody coming straight out of prison would get. And it's all because, I'm grinding. I'm sticking to it. I'm making difficult choices.
Tell us about your family life now.
Yeah, my family life has done nothing but grow. It's been something that on both sides have been nurtured. We just continually water our family's environment. I'm enjoying birthdays, parties, sisterly trips, family trips. We just had a family trip back to San Diego, which was amazing. I don't think there are any words that could express the sort of feeling you get when you're next to the closest to your loved ones, and you're able to enjoy healthy and sober moments. Something I never thought that I would get. Once again, here's that reinforcement of, doing the right thing and finding out what's important to you, and then being consistent in lieu of those things, right? I wanted my family back. It wasn't easy. There were times where I thought I wasn't gonna get it, but I stayed consistent, and I keep doing those things over and over. And like I said, now I enjoy quality time with my family. I get phone calls from my sister and my mother, which are priceless.
How do you spend your days now?
I spend most of my time these days working. I work long days, but outside of work, I have a wonderful girlfriend who I spend my time with now. And I still have the gym in my life. The gym is a staple for me. I go to church. I'm in contact with people from church. And really, that's it. That's really all I need in my life right now is a job, a group of people, including my family, who love and care about me, and that will tell me the things I need to hear, not the things I want to hear. and some physical fitness in my life, I'm extremely happy with where I'm at right now.
Chris, I want to end with this. We ended all of our previous episodes with something you learned in prison that could be valuable to our audience. I want you to tell them the one key takeaway from your time in prison and the most valuable lesson you learned during your time.
The most impactful lesson that I could give you guys from prison that I took away is, with the help of God, allow him to dictate your circumstances and then be direct with it. Be directly in line with what he wants for you. And that comes with reading the word. You know, I was hopeless and I didn't think that life had anything left to offer. And none of that changed until I put Jesus Christ first. And so the one takeaway for me that is the biggest is to allow yourself to be accountable to Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Thank you so much for going on this journey through Chris's life with us. This was a heart-wrenching project. Chris has shared a lot authentically, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, to share with everyone in the world your own experiences and the struggles you've been through. But the reason Chris was willing to do this is he hopes, and we hope, that this will instill hope for people who are going through similar situations, people who think they can't beat their own addictions or might be facing a serious federal charge. There is hope. You can get past this. And what we can all do to honor Chris's efforts of sharing so genuinely about his life is to try to avoid going down some of the pathways that he has. But if you find yourself in the midst of a very serious criminal problem, to understand that there is still hope. Thank you, Chris, for sitting down with us and spending so much time and sharing so much about your life. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you guys for letting me share my journey with you.